every day we encounter some kind of struggle, but understand, just know it's a test, and it's a test for your endurance of faith and your strength. So no matter if it's looking a little rough around the edges right now, understand that nothing is ever permanent, change is everlasting, and you should smile because God woke you up this morning. You understand? So, any case, my special guest today, I'm really, really, really excited. I've been speaking with him on and off about the last 2 weeks. Mr. David M. Willson, who is a Christian author, and I definitely can't wait to get into his journey of writing. This man has so much wisdom within just his mind frame and moreover his spirit, and he has an amazing resume. When I'm looking over here, this bio here, this guy has done some really amazing things, including, being an author as well. So I'm very excited. I love to start from the beginning, or, every conversation is different. And I love learning about people in general, and it just shows you that the world is a very, very big place. And we all have a walk of life through this journey. And with interviews especially, we have to be vulnerable to sharing our experiences so people can know on who we are. Why are we the way we are? It's so many things that comes along with it. So this is no different. I love what I do. I love that I get to learn about people. Sometimes I won't say I get so much as overwhelmed, but sometimes. But the reality is, this business right here, or the way I chose to handle doing radio business, I would not change it, because people know I like to do things from my heart, from my spirit, from the fruits of my labor that has nothing to do with so much as monetary compensation. The reality is, it's about planting seeds, and how we decide to take care of the seeds, to water them and make them grow, that is on us by our works. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to get this conversation started. So, with that being said, Mr. David M. Willson, you guys, sir, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, lovely. Good to hear your voice.
You same as well. Thank you for being here this evening. Of course, I appreciate love and support and just your presence.
I appreciate that. When you were, talking about starting from the beginning, it's a tough one because there's, in my life, I think I had quite a few different beginnings, but I guess I would say my beginnings with my writing and my call to write probably started with my work with children. So the first time I worked with kids was I went to the University of Arizona back in 1979, and I got a job driving as a driver for the kids there. And we drive the smaller kids to the missions for the health checks, and we drive the older kids to their jobs. And there's a bunch of university guys, and we all lived up above the cafeteria. And that's all we did. We had room and board for free, and we drove the kids around. It was a great gig there for a while. I loved the university. And my second year, I got really ill, and I had to move back home. But the summer I came home, the first time, I had a high school friend. She was actually the president of our senior class. Asked me if I wanted to work at a summer camp for kids who were very troubled. And I took it, and I worked with the little ones that summer. And then I went back to Arizona, and then that's when I got ill and returned home and did a couple different things, and eventually realized that what I really liked after a year or two was working at that facility in Scranton, Pennsylvania, working with the kids with all of the problems. So I went back to work with them, only this time they put me with the teenagers who they were bigger and stronger than I would ever be, and it was quite an aggressive atmosphere. So I had a great mentor, and I had to learn how to develop relationship skills because I saw so much violence, even at the organization there, with restraints and just, you know, every night there seemed to be 5 or 6 restraints and people getting injured and kids getting hurt. And so I said, I'm not going to make it unless I figure out how to do this the right way. So I took advantage of, Bob Linhart was his name. I took advantage of his mentorship. He was a clinical supervisor at the organization. And that's really what kept me in the field. And I worked at that facility for quite a few years. I had some sign language skills from Arizona that I used in a special program we had in Scranton with the School for the Deaf. So I ended up working in the classroom with kids who were diagnosed with emotional disturbances and were also hearing impaired. And then for years of that, I found an organization down in Tampa, Florida that was winning all kinds of awards for the way it ran its residential treatment program for the same kind of population of kids. And they also had a tuition reimbursement program, so I made the move down there and worked for them a couple of years, started going to school in Tampa at Hillsborough Community College, and then I transferred up to Florida State, and that's where all of the academia started. And I was actually in a dual doctoral program down there, and all the while I'm there, I'm working at emergency shelters and doing different things with kids. And in 1995, my niece was killed in an accident right back here, not far from our house. My sister was driving. She survived. But I was just getting ready to start. I was in a dual doctoral program, and I was getting real close to that. And we raised, Jessica was her name, we raised her in our home, so I was like a big brother or a father figure or uncle, and all those things kind of wrapped up. And it was very hard to remain in Florida, and I had so many concerns about my sister and my mother that I decided to try to finish up down there and move back north. And that's what I did, and I finished all my coursework for the dual doctorate, but I couldn't start the dissertation. But I still ended up with the graduate degrees, and I was able to practice as a school psychologist for about 17 years. And through that work, and then after my niece's death, I decided to, when we started having kids in the school systems I worked in, you know, get killed in accidents and overdoses and illnesses, I decided to use that experience with my niece to strengthen myself and do a better job for these families who were suffering, and peers and all their friends and the teachers. And unfortunately, it became a specialized area of expertise for me, and nobody kind of wants to have that area of expertise because that would suggest you're around a lot of loss. But if you don't do that, I say with that kind of loss, you're never going to be the same. You're going to either become stronger or you're going to come out of this damage somehow. You can't stay the same. So I decided to come out of it stronger, and I could say today that I'm just so thankful that I had my niece on this earth for 15 years. She was an incredible young lady, an old soul, a kind soul, and you know, I love the Lord for having her in our lives, even if it was just for a short period of time. You know, so that's kind of my footprint in the field. And when I made a decision to move up to Alaska to work, that's also at the time where I started writing a first book that had to do with helping kids in school systems. And I would take on topics that were usually deemed pretty difficult for most people, and most schools weren't used to really putting stuff on the table to help kids. And And there were a lot of counselors and good people that wanted to, but it was hard for people to make that first step. And I kind of don't have fear about those things. I think families feel your passion when you really care about their kids. So if you're saying something from your heart and there's passion behind it to help, you know, a very large percentage of even angry families and parents who are angry with the school district, even teachers, they'll be able to hear you. So I finished that book there, but what got planted in my heart, I was telling you about my mentor early on in my career, and he ended up getting cancer and passed away. And I think it was around 2003, 2004. And all in one day, this whole book flooded my head. I literally had the book from to finish come into my head, the themes that run through it, most of the characters. And it was the strangest feeling at that time. And I wasn't a practicing Christian at the time either. But I remember me and Bob's wife, Melissa, remained friends. We were friends before that, and we remained friends since Bob's passing. And I told her, we went out to dinner, and I told her the whole story, and she loved the story. And over the years, she would say, how's Tobias doing, as he's the main character in this book that I wrote called Theodore Tobias Greenwood, A Child of Grace. Well, it didn't start off as a Christian book. It was just a book, and I'd pick it up and I'd write a little bit when I'd have time because my work was quite intense. And I'd set it down sometimes for a couple of years at a pop. And then finally, another change in life came in 2010 when I had a nephew who committed suicide. And I came home for his service, and I saw there was something going on in my parents' home. It was very cluttered. That wouldn't be a fair statement. It was kind of out of control. There was something going on, and I decided I'm tired. What I'll do is I'll just leave the field for a year. I'll come back. I'll clean out their house, finish a couple of rooms for them, and then move on again. Well, it became more clear, during that year that my mom had Alzheimer's, and my dad was physically regressing because he's almost all titanium and plastic, and he's on his third pacemaker. So I started working on the house, and things got so intense, I actually made a decision to recommit to God and say that there's no way I'm going to survive this if I don't develop my relationship with Jesus. There's just no way I'm going to get through this. And that's what I did. And through that process, the first few years, I would say that the true change really just started happening a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago. I was trying to practice it, but I still had a lot of anger. And I remember one day when the pastor was giving out magnets, and he said there were, I think, fish magnets, the sign that you're a Christian, your car is Christian. And he said you could put it on your bumper. And I wouldn't take one because I actually had like 2 road rage incidents. And I said, that's all I need to do. Is the life of a Christian is hard enough. And when one of us messes up, and it gets on, your local television show, that you had this kind of incident, you hurt your brothers and sisters who are trying to become Christians, and you're pushing other people away who are considering being Christians. So I knew I still wasn't ready. But about 2 years ago, I really started changing. I do a better job here with my mom, though I fail in grace every day at some point. But the book came back to my heart. But now the book that I had pretty much all in my head and from start to finish, now I start writing it, but now I turned it into a Christian fiction novel. And the only reason I say fiction is most of these kids in this book are, their experiences and things that I've seen over my life. I've been around thousands of kids and families over the years, and I kind of took creative liberties on a lot of things, but there's a lot of truth in the book. And I've always looked out for the kids that maybe other people couldn't see, and most counselors do too, and most teachers who are in special education can identify them. The kids that just have other issues going on that they need people rooting for them and pushing them. And in this book, all my characters, and they will be, because this is just one in a series of books, my characters are always going to be the kids that are not understood well. They're going to be the kids that people only see disabilities in when you're working with them and you get your head on right. You're really supposed to be looking at what the kids can do, not what they can't do. So, Tobias, is a young man who has a gift, and he's not sure where the gift came from, but he surrounds himself with a lot of these characters, and he pulls the best out of them, and it's things that I've seen in my own life, and there's very little supernatural things that happen in this book that people can say, that could never happen in real life. You read this and you kind of wonder what if, and that's the way I feel I can help teens capture the interest of teens and maybe people that are a little bit older and say, this is pretty interesting. This guy's onto something here, maybe, even though it's Christian fiction and people can say, it's not Christian fact, but the foundations are so real in a lot of cases that it might interest people, and I think that's what the creative arts do, and music does, and any of the arts move people. And I'm just trying to use this genre here to do the same thing, to get people interested in Christ and to have fun while we're doing it. It's not a ponies and rainbow book. It's about real life, and just because I'm a Christian and some of the characters in the book does not mean that they're not going to be challenged by evil. So if people think they're just going to giggle and chuckle and there's not going to be any tough situations, it might not be the book for them, because there are some very difficult situations that can be written with dignity and not offend anyone. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I definitely want to say I really apologize about what happened to your niece. I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry.
Thank you.
And I just want to say I'm glad and congratulations on you taking the struggle of that and turning it into so much strength to do multiple things and continuously, be a helper and just have an open heart, because a lot of people who go through type of experiences within that type of nature usually just shut down. And it's a harder shell to come out of once you're in a mold of, you already have these emotions blocked and built around you. So I want to say I appreciate you taking that loss and turning it into a power that you have something that it can be controlled. Like you know what I mean? Like it's something that you have a personal control of, not necessarily life itself, but just something you can pour your pain into passion to.
Well, loss is one of our greatest teachers, I truly believe, and none of us, it'd be wonderful if we could have a life and not ever have to deal with that, but life is full of them in a lot of different ways. A loss of a child is probably one of the worst things the human condition can experience. I've also, that's another thing that I have going on. I'm developing a nonprofit called 1,000 Brothers that will serve families who've lost kids. That's in the making, and I'm searching for board members now. And the website is 1000brothers.org if anybody wants to look that up. That's a local. We're going to pilot it locally back here in Lackawanna County in Pennsylvania. And I'd love for it to take off and cross county lines and state lines. We got to get it right first in this county. So it's a passion of mine now to do that and get back out into the consulting world and working with schools. And there's a lot of things that I want to do. I've been kind of limited. I felt a little restricted because I'm no longer a 9-to-5 guy. I can't be with the situation in my home. So I've got to be creative on how I get out there and try to do things. And the writing is something you can do from anywhere, as long as your head and your heart are cleared up. But I think I'm getting a better grasp on that. I've already started the second novel in the series. And I see these things. You know, it's interesting, like with Tobias. I see my books. I saw it like a movie playing out before me, and when I read it, I see. I don't know. It's my first one. I'm waiting for the reviews and different things that come back, and so far the ones that are out there are really good. But there's music of the time, and this was back in my times during high school and in elementary school in the 60s and high school in the 70s, and the music from that era. And I don't know how well that comes across in the written word, but I tell people, get to know the songs, like, some of the Simon and Garfunkel songs, Sound of Silence. There's another song by Emerson, Lake and Palmer called I Believe in Father Christmas. And there's a song by Tommy James and the Shondells called Moni Moni. And then there's Billy Davis Jr. and Marilyn McCoo. You remember The Fifth Dimension? I think you're a little younger than me, but The Fifth Dimension, they were members of that, and they left and they went out on their own and got married, and they had a song called Everybody's Got to Be a Star. I say, like, when I'm writing about those songs and, either they're being talked about or they're being performed, I'm seeing it. So I'm hoping that I did it justice by putting it in word and people can kind of feel that. But it would definitely help, when they come across those, to pull up a YouTube video to actually hear the song played, and they might click with them a little bit more, because I'm still a learning writer. I have a lot of good creative energy, but in the book itself, there might be a comma or an apostrophe missing somewhere. Like, I found this incredible publisher, published by Parables, Pastor Jeffries out of Louisiana, that, again, like yourself, Lovey, I cross paths on these Christian Facebook sites, and I'm running into some wonderful people that are just, the plan is being set in front of me. And this costs next to nothing to get this book done. And it's absolutely phenomenal what they're doing down there. It's published by Parables. So I'm very appreciative to them. And for someone like you to cross paths with and have this opportunity to at least speak about the book and some of the things that I want to accomplish, it's all part of the bigger plan, I think, my friend.
Yes, and I just want to say I'm so open-minded for everyone who comes on this show. And we have talked so much throughout these last 2 weeks, where I have a thorough understanding of you. And I guess I have a couple of questions in between of my whole little, I know I talk too much sometimes, so sometimes I got to shut up. It's a time to talk. It's a time to listen. Sometimes I have a hard time balancing out the two. But it's not on purpose or what have you. I just try my best, So I would have to ask you, especially being a Christian author, and then also putting this book in relation towards youth. Where do you think youth struggle at, and parents too, when it comes down to, in a sense, living a Christian life? or let's not even maybe title it Christian life. Let's just say a spiritual life. Why do you think there is maybe such a battle in people saying that, okay, you know, I don't have to be of these things that my flesh wants me to be?
Right. Well, there's a couple things that I think are going on. One, you know, when you make the decision to build a relationship with Jesus, you have to also acknowledge that there's evil in the world. And I think the more good that you try to do, the harder that evil's going to come at you and try to disrupt. I think that's something that going into the Christian lifestyle, people have to be prepared for, is that there are going to be some battles. And for the good things that I'm trying to accomplish, I'm getting hit really hard, and I just keep battling. And you know, Satan's a formidable foe, and you can't let your guard down. And I proclaim my love for Jesus every day, several times. You know, that's the one thing. The other thing is people who are, I think, not used to seeing you this way and not used to seeing me this way. And not that I was ever a really bad person, but I definitely made my mistakes in life. And I think the change is just starting to become apparent to people. I think that's what's really happened over the last couple of years. Even though I saw myself changing, 5-6 years ago, it's really the last 2 years that I can actually feel a change, and I know that people are seeing it. So I've already experienced, when I had a weak moment, or not just a weak moment, someone saying, oh, yeah, throwing the Christian thing in my face, like I'm not also supposed to have earthly challenges and falter at times. So there are people out there waiting for you to falter, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, to prove that they don't need to go to church, they don't need fellowship, they don't need Jesus in their life. Another one is just to hurt you and to show you that you are a hypocrite, in fact. And so you have all of those battles that are just naturally going to come, and you have to be ready for them. And you and I were talking about Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I love to watch him. And he says those kinds of things. He talks about those things, is preparing for battle. And I always worry, I don't want to be the guy that stops somebody from becoming a Christian because they look at him. I don't want to be the guy that is on the Channel 16 news back here, that got in a road rage incident and busted out somebody's window, and then on the side of my car is a fish that says, I'm a Christian at so-and-so, United Methodist Church or wherever, I don't want to be that guy, because as soon as somebody sees that, I hurt my true Christian brothers and sisters who are fighting hard to do the same thing I'm doing. And so when you take on this Christian lifestyle, you're not just taking it on for yourself, you're becoming a representative and a light for all your brothers and sisters in the same challenge. And you could end up hurting a lot of people, and that helps me keep things in perspective. But it also, we were never promised a life without pain, and the pain is still going to come. And like I said, I'm in it now. I'm around it all day long. I see pain here in my own home, and I fail by grace in so many situations every day. But I also get better at it every day. I ask for forgiveness at the end of every day, and even at the beginning. Sometimes I'll ask for forgiveness before my day starts, because I know, pre-forgive me, because I know I'm going to at some point do something that's not pretty or say something that I want to say. So right. It's those are the things as a Christian that you want people to know going into. Like, it's not all ponies and rainbows. It's not an easy life, but it is so worth it. What you get from it is the promise of eternal life and a relationship with Jesus. You'll never be alone. Doesn't mean you won't experience pain. Doesn't mean people won't die around you. But you're never alone. Never, never, ever again will you be alone. And really, everlasting life starts the moment you are truly saved. So, my life will never be over, no matter what happens. I can leave this earth and I'll still be okay. It's like the metaphor of the two roads, going the same way, but one has an ending. The other one just goes off into the sunset. You can't see the ending. Well, I want to hop over into that lane, and that's kind of what the Christian does. But you got to practice at it. That's why we call it practicing Christians. We got to practice every day. You've got to practice and remind yourself. I even sent away for Dr. Jeremiah's cards that they send out for free. And I look at them every day. His Beyond Amazing book. And the titles of the chapters are Endurance, Joy, God-Inspired Life, Love, Self-Discipline, Peace, Integrity, Humility, Generosity, and Compassion. And if you can remember those at the beginning of every day and keep them in your heart somewhere, it should be a pretty good day.
That is really good advice. That is really good advice, because especially when you're trying to live an upright life, that doesn't mean that you're perfect. I think that's where people get it all the way twisted and confused at. Like, people think once you're saved, right, you've become this angelic angel that can do no wrong. Wrong, people. Wrong. All the way wrong. And here's why I feel so. Again, it's just my opinion, but then it's not just my opinion. It's just more so, again, how you said, practice. There is no perfect being on this earth besides Jesus Christ himself.
Right.
So with us as human beings, we try to stick close to the spirit. We always fight in the flesh with the spirit. And we try to walk a fine line, but then also the flesh does happen to kick in several ways. People make us mad, things happen, situations happen, and sometimes we're not necessarily able to do the best controlling of our situations, and we let things get out of hand.
Absolutely.
And so then God has to. Oh, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I was just, putting in my little 2 cents.
Well, no, I'm right on there. I'm right in there with you. And actually, in the book, the book isn't full of scripture. And again, there's reasons why. I think creative Christian fiction can be creative in how you. It doesn't matter how the message gets across as long as you get it across. It's not full of scripture that it's gonna feel like somebody's reading the Bible, but he'll throw something up every now and then, and there are things that I like. And in Psalm 90, within Psalm 90, my favorite phrase is, teach us to number our days so that we may gain hearts of wisdom. Like, I don't want to be that person getting older that gets crankier and more angry, because of the aches and pains and the things that should have been and the things, nobody does this for me. I don't want to be that person. I want to be a happier person. And I still battle that. That sneaks up on me at times. That's the one I want to take that psalm and that statement, and I want to live that. I want it, even if I'm in pain and I'm by myself, by earthly means by myself, and don't have anybody around me, I'll have Jesus and I'll have wisdom, because I was taught to number my days. That's one thing. The other thing that I really hit on, or I should say Tobias did, was one of the most perfect descriptions of love you'll ever find is in 1 Corinthians 13, I believe. Love is patient, love is kind. And though everybody's heard, small pieces of that, read the whole thing. And I would tell teens who were in trouble, even friends who were in trouble in their relationships, and they were not good relationships, and I'll say, hey, you want to see a really good description of what love is supposed to look like? Read that, because it doesn't get any better than that.
Right.
It's a wonderful step to take to say, if I want to learn what love is supposed to look like, that's the place to look for it. and not to try to figure it out on your own, because you can never figure it out on your own. Too complicated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do want to talk about your creation process for this particular book. Like, how long roughly did it take you from the idea to, the execution? Tell me about that process.
Here's the thing. I truly believe the amount of writing time in the way that this story came to me, and I just see myself as a vessel, because if I was able to sit down, let's say this book came to me, I think God held it back from me until he knew it was supposed to be a Christian book, and he waited until I had my foundation pretty well set before I actually finished the book, which I just decided to do this past late fall. And I probably have about 3 to 4 months of sit-down writing time, because the book was just read into my head. It's not like he used my gifts and graces. He knew, that's what the capital H and capital E, he knew that I've been around so many kids. I had so many experiences. I saw so many things with kids with different challenges and unique characteristics, and he knew I had all that. I've got so much to draw from. He waited until I was ready, and then he just unleashed me. And then I just so happened to cross paths on the internet with Pastor Jeffrey's Published by Parables program, and everything just fit together. So from start to finish, it came to me in 2004, so we're looking at 13 years in that way. But I just putzed around with it. These characters, all in the meantime, they all became friends in my head, but I wasn't putting pen to paper. They were friends in my head. I got to know them better over the years. But, last fall, when I really got serious and I started really putting it down. So I think the actual writing process of it, Lovey, was maybe 3 to 4 months. And I got probably 4 or 5 more he put in my head and heart. And the second one I started writing, and I'm sure if I got freed up, that one will be out by the fall. It just, they come pretty quick. I even, I do poetry, Christian poetry and different things, and I say stuff that I never would have said myself. I could never have thought of such things. So, all the glory to God. He's putting these things in my heart. I'm a vessel. I'm proud that He's favored me to do that, and I think even though I'm not a trained writer, these are indie books. I know
right.
They're going to get better and better as I go along, and all I want to do is please the Father, and proceeds of anything I sell or any kind of money I bring in will go to my at least some of it will go to my nonprofit, the administrative functions of my nonprofit. So when people donate their donation funds, I want to try to keep that as high as possible and try to support the admin section with what I can do. So it'll either come through my books or consulting, things like that. But the writing process comes pretty quick to me.
Of course. And what I tell people, and I think I've told you this even before hand, that I love to be a part of the growing process, because it's just such an amazing experience. Because when I see people doing other elevated things, and I just go back to they were on my show, tears. Somebody give me some tissue, please.
No, like I told you before, though, we could also say that about you, that someday, you have bigger dreams, and we could say, hey, we were on her show. It works both ways.
Yeah, but I'm taking everybody with me. So, look, I'm wherever I go, because with all my shows, again, I don't delete any of my shows that I have done between the past 5 and 7 years. And then when I was in the studio, I have all my studio copies of my shows too, which were only like a half hour though, but they were on TuneIn Radio. So I tell everyone who has entered either my show Diamonds Mix or my other show Diamonds in the Rough Mix, which that's not technically on hiatus, but it is until my CEO of 94.2 gets another building. So hopefully that will be within this year, and I will be back rocking and rolling with two networks, my own and what I was doing for 94.2. So I don't overlook anybody who has been a part of this journey. They're going to continue to be a part of the journey, because I want to get to a place where, again, I want to be a part of Sirius Radio, iHeartRadio, and whatever type of radio where it becomes Diamonds Mix and Diamonds in the Rough can become a syndicated show.
Right.
Because that's really one of the ultimate goals. There's so many goals I have with Diamonds Mix in general, and I've reached a few plateaus. I got a whole another different hike and mountains to climb. But just for the hike that I have taken so far, I've ran Diamonds Mix consistently for about the past year. And just to see the elevation that it has taken, I feel good and it scares me at the same time. Because I'm like, okay, Lord, you testing me and blessing me. And, you just, it's like, okay, I'm scared, but okay. My first red carpet event, I was nervous. But I just kept thinking about on how I just do just the rest of my shows where the people were sitting down in the studio with me getting their interviews done. I went back to what my original personality was always going to be, that crazy, funny, goofy, lovey. Yeah, that girl right there. And my nerves were just over at that point. And I'm like, wow, people really are like, okay, I'm waiting for her to ask the question. Like, it's crazy. But I love it. It's a beautiful experience. I get to meet beautiful people who all got a story to tell. And that's where I'm very grateful at, sir. I'm very, very, very grateful. I'm very thankful. And it's only bigger and better things. But tests are going to come, and the devil know what I'm after. So, of course, he got to try to put his tools and fuse in. But the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not be weary. So here we go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that you keep the Lord first, and you'll be all right on your end. And I'm open to any possibility I can get to help market. That's the other challenge with marketing, and that's why I feel blessed that we cross paths with is the, most indie writers don't have the finances to get out and have any major marketing schemes. I just say, if I can hit enough people and get the right people like yourself to give me a chance to speak about it. I got a book that may gently tug at the hearts of teens and maybe some parents, and they could have younger kids in the home read it. I suggest parents read it first if the kids are younger, though, because I'd want them to know those difficult parts are in there, and then they could give the green light. Or be ready to answer questions, that the younger kids, when I say younger, I'm talking, middle school kids may ask. That's the same thing when we if we hand a child the Bible, we wouldn't say, don't ask any questions about it. And I actually prayed about the things I put in here. And I kind of make light of it in the beginning of it. I had a conversation with God and prayed about it. Can I put these things in there? And he reminded me about, the Old Testament, so the stuff that was in the Old Testament. And I don't have anything that compares to how rough things were in parts of the Old Testament. So I think I'm okay on that. But if somebody wants to share a book that talks about the battle with evil, of trying to be a good person, forgiveness, love, hope, getting past people's perception of abilities and disabilities and seeing what people can truly be and become. And I believe truly, even though it's a Christian fiction, because I've seen what I have in here, I've seen happen. on a lot of levels. Maybe not to the level that Tobias has taken some, but you can come out of this book saying, but what if? I truly do believe that. But I think the stereotypes, I take on stereotypes, and you look at, to me, a great example is watching like an episode of America's Got Talent, and there's none more powerful than when Susan Boyle, or O'Boyle, I can't remember how you say her last name, walked onto that stage like maybe 8 years ago, and the crowd yawned, and everybody was making faces, even the judges, because they didn't find her as physically attractive as some of the other contestants, and then she started to sing, and they were stunned. And then when you have somebody that gets on stage and they're heavy and they could sing, and the crowd is stunned again. So basically what our culture is telling us is that, wow, people who a lot of people think are physically unattractive or they're heavy, they're not supposed to be able to have good voices, which it tells you how ludicrous it is the way people think. When you put a stereotype or an expectation on someone, it's just like an athlete. Athletes don't have just one certain body type. Somebody could truly trick you when you decide to play a game of basketball with them or whatever, and see the things they could do, and yet they weigh 50 pounds more than you, yet they're faster than you, and you didn't expect it. So there's no one body type for an athlete. There's no one body type for a singer, a musician, But America, and because of our culture, the way it's gone, it's unfortunately that's what the sitcoms and the television and the commercials are telling us. So to me, I want to battle all that perception and put things back in perspective, and I want to do that through my novels. And I want to always get those kids that don't think that they can move forward, that not only can you move forward, you can change the world, and you can be a force in the world for good. And my main, I can't give too much away, but one of my favorite characters in the book has cerebral palsy, and wait till you see what she can do. And again, people don't expect because of what they see, but you can never measure the heart and the spirit of a child. And as a school psychologist, I saw that so many times. I saw people try to turn children into numbers and IQs, and you can never just look at that. And my fellow counselors and friends in the districts I worked in, and maybe some that are listening, they know exactly what I'm saying. The most dangerous thing that can happen from an evaluation of a child in school is that they get turned into a number. And you say, there's so much more to a human being than a number. And though it may be helpful to show that they may need, they may have some kind of learning disability or some other things happening, it still doesn't define the humanity of that child or the humanity of the parents. You got to know, you can't know how hard people are going to fight for that child when they find out how to help them a little bit better and how that child will respond to that help. There's just so many unknowns, and people want everything wrapped up nice in a box, and it's not always going to be that way. So those are the kids that I want to root for. I want to know why we don't push college in classes with kids with special needs. Why can't kids with special needs be given the hope of trade schools and colleges and things that they might want to do? It's all thinking out of the box and saying, why are we not paying attention to all of our children and trying to get all of our children to succeed at the highest levels rather than just meet what they call adequate standards? I don't know if you ever heard that before. It's a famous saying in schools, to pass so-and-so, the schools are so much testing and run and funded by meeting these obligations. Everything, they just have to meet adequate expectations and adequate test results for everything to be okay. And it's like, wow, that's the sky's the limit when you're shooting for adequate. So in my novels, I'm I'm going to bring out the best. And it may not start out that way, but by the end of the book, we're going to bring out the best in these kids and what they have to offer and how they can change the world and just keep things moving forward, you know?
Yeah, and I think that is a positive way to look at things because, especially in today's world, disabled children are faced with so much and they're teased so much about something that's beyond their control. And productions, or rather books like this that are written, actually puts another, seed into the atmosphere. Let's turn the can't into we can. Let's drop the apostrophe and the T, because anything is possible.
That's right. Those children could be brilliant. People don't know, like the quiet child. Is the quiet child quiet because they're shy? Is the quiet child shy because they're really angry? Like, you've got to get to know kids. And I'll say, in school systems is you can't let anybody on the fringe. We wouldn't have these school shootings and all these problems today if we connected with everybody in our schools. But we stay away from the quiet child just thinking they're just quiet. Well, you don't know what's going on until you get to know them a little bit better. So, reach out to everybody. As a matter of fact, those are the kids that we should look out for more and get to know them a little bit better, or at least let them know that they're loved and valued in the school. Always watch out for those kids on the fringes and keep them connected and let them know they're valued. Stop the bullying. If teachers were outside their classrooms during changes and there was teachers that were around the locker rooms and the bathrooms, you wouldn't have the opportunities for bullies. But the bullies need help too. So, there's lots of different ways to look at that, but we have to take care of all of these kids and give them all a shot. And in order for that to happen when they're in school, the schools have to be safe. If the schools aren't safe, they're not feeling safe. They're not going to meet their potential. They can't relax enough to learn. So there's a lot of things that can be done to bring out the best in kids, and the kids with disabilities who can be brilliant thinkers, and they can have so many skills that we'll never know unless we tell them we know, that you got something in there. We're going to help you get it out. And you know what? They may be able to sing. You don't know. But that was another thing. That was another incident on a show where a child, I think it was on Steve Harvey, who had a child in a wheelchair that came on, and he sang like an angel, and everybody's going crazy. And again, it's that stereotype. And it's nice to know the child has a skill, but don't be so closed-minded to think that was never a possibility. You know what I mean? You see it all the time.
Yes, sir. And it's funny that you mentioned Steve Harvey, because it's a lot of paid audience work that I happen to do. And one of the shows I happen to go to is Steve Harvey. And that's as real gets. He loves to talk to his audience. And that is God-loving.
He preaches, right?
I'm sorry?
He preaches, doesn't he, Lovey? Like during commercial breaks, he does some preaching?
Yeah, somewhat. But, he also is very, he got his blunt, honest, look. I can tell you some stories about Mr. Steve Harvey, but the reality is this man is always putting positivity within this. Like he straight out said, everybody is blessed with a gift. So he was like, some of you are not necessarily, meant to sing or act or whatever. You might make the best fried chicken in the world.
Yeah, he's a good man. I agree.
Yes, I love Steve Harvey. What I love about him, he has 7 shows and 5 of them he owns.
Yeah, he's a businessman, but look at the mistake he made and how he overcome it. He didn't let that get him down. You know, with the Miss America pageant, he laughs at himself, and he says, "I'm sorry," and he moves forward. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's really what you want to see. It just happens. Stuff happens.
Exactly.
But how much time do we have?
We have about 5 to 10 more minutes on air before. So sometimes Blog Talk Radio acts funny. If I don't give it some extra time, then if I give it a certain time, it's going to just be like, okay, well, you need to work within your time frame. So, yeah. Well, basically, I'm saying we have some time to still talk.
Well, I just want to, say that, the book is Theodore Tobias Greenwood, A Child of Grace. It's, I think it's a good read for people, and I hope it's, it may not be for everyone, but I really would like to see it catch some energy, get some positive energy. I think it can change some people. And my first book was a book to help kids in school, and it's just as passionate, but in the public school system, a secular system, even though there were times I capitalized on people's faith, because I believe I was a Christian, I just wasn't practicing. I would capitalize on people's faith when they had problems with their child, but I never could introduce it. When I wrote that book, I wrote it with a lot of passion. It's called Uncommon Sense Children in School. So a lot of the things that we're talking about, the concepts and ideas of how to help kids, I had formed through my work with a lot of kids over the years and around a lot of good counselors and staff and the school districts and, up in Kodiak and Florida and Pennsylvania here and Virginia. I moved around, but I love my school districts. Some of them became like families,
Right.
But that's where I learned. I'm a good learner. I learned what was tough for people to deal with, and I always wanted to get better at it. So if we had a child that was obese and was always picked on because he or she was obese, and I said, we have to talk to the family about it, and they said, well, we can't. I said, why? And they said, well, because both parents are obese. And I'll say that's more of a reason why we have to talk about it. We have to be honest with them and let them know that their child needs help. And that's a very hard thing for a lot of people to do. And I can only say I don't know if I would ever consider any of the tough situations I addressed with my team. I was never just one person. With good teams that we addressed head on like that, because that was our opportunity to help a child that I was disappointed in or wished didn't happen. I always, when you put stuff on the table and a parent knows that you're doing it because you really care about their child, no matter how difficult the conversation is, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And so I hit on a lot of that in that book, and that's on Amazon too. It's on my author's page, but that's written under David M. Willson, my creative. I'm playing around with my name with my Christian fiction novels. I'm using my middle name also, David Michael Willson. But Uncommon Sense Children in School is on Amazon as well. That was a far more expensive book to do because I didn't have Published by Parables at the time. It was another subsidiary of Amazon, which charged quite a bit of money. But that's all I had to say, just to wrap things up about the book. But do you have any other questions for me?
Yes. How can people find you, get in touch with you, and all of that good stuff? And, of course, I want to let you come back as well. That'll be a free interview on me. And I need you to come back, and I would love for you to read an excerpt from the book as well so people can see what you're talking about. Yes, you have to come back.
Yeah, anytime. I don't have, I'm actually working. I'm going to get some PR assistance, and I have a friend down in, she's in Mississippi. She's going to help me do the website. I'm going to do an author consultation website. But right now, people can Gmail me at David1959Will, W-I-L-L, at gmail.com. And, if they were interested in me speaking somewhere. Now, you're on the other side of the country, so I can't get over there just yet. But at some point, I'll be freed up to get around a little bit more. But they can send me an email if they have some questions for me. And that's the easiest way. The books are easily, all you got to do is put the title in on Amazon. The books come up. They're the easiest things to get. But I really want to get back into the schools and start doing some presentations, mostly in the evening at like PTAs when they usually meet after school, like those kinds of things. But that's the easiest way to get me now is just through the Gmail, David1959Will with 2 L's at gmail.com.
Yes, and I have to say it has been a pleasure having you on the show. And again, I definitely am very curious about what's going on in your writing penmanship. And it's just been a pleasure just talking with you just these last couple weeks anyway. Just getting to learn more just about you, where your vision is, where you're trying to get to. And I'm still going to send you over to a few folks. I gotta put a couple of announcements out on like my social medias because I have a lot of different people on my Facebook. So I need people to let me know what it is that, what all of they do, in addition to people that I've worked with. But, I want all people to expose themselves if they're doing radio, if they're doing magazine, because, again, these are resources that could be helpful to the guests that have come through on my show. Right. So, it's about a marketing part. It's like people understand when each guest that I have, I always think about how to strengthen my own marketing skills and how to help, everybody and also somewhat on each individual. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes I'm like, okay, Lord, my brain help me. But again, it's a challenge that I love to accept because the reality is it's still resources for everyone else that can, further out on how they want to expand themselves. So right. I look at always the business side and the helpful side on things first, and then I just go with my heart on what I feel and try the guinea pig situation. That's all independent artistry is with no matter what we do, even with this independent radio stuff. I get to do what I want, how I want, not a certain structure, not necessarily a whole bunch of, filters or what have you. I don't have a judgment zone here. I have really cool sponsors that love what I do, whether it's interviews. I've had poetry contests here. I've done a lot. They love what I do. They love the fact I'm very consistent in what I do. And it makes me just more passionate to continue to go extra hard in the paint where I'm trying to bring a championship of some sort. I don't know what the ending plateau of Diamonds Mix is. I just know it's on the Destiny for Greater. But for the Destiny for Greater, you got to travel the long and narrow path, which I'm okay with. Because what's mine is mine. What God has for me, it is for me. No one will be able to take that away from me.
Well, I think you're on the right path, and I hope you keep getting good people, that help make your show, and that we help each other, and that everything that you move up your ladder and I move up mine, and I want to thank my friends and people who checked in to listen. I really appreciate people that gave me a little bit of their time to get to know what I'm up to a little bit more. So I appreciate you guys and all the listeners.
And this is marketing tools. So people who have missed out on your interview, I sent the direct link, I believe, in your inbox, and then I posted a couple of times inside of the event Facebook page as well. All they have to do is click on that link, and this interview will go immediately to the beginning and play all the way through the follow through. This is a permanent link.
Nice.
I don't delete anything that I do because it's history in the making. So
there you are. We're a part of history.
Yes, sir. And again, I definitely want you back on the show. Let me see how February turns out. It's still a little crazy in the madhouse. I'm trying to, get everything together in the chicken coop.
You just let me know when. I'll make time for you. Just let me know when.
Yes, because I look forward to definitely you reading the excerpt, because you are more than welcome to. And I'm here. Just know that I'm here. I appreciate all the love, all the support. Thank you for trusting me. First and foremost, I have to say that. I have to say that to each and every person that has ever believed in Diamonds Mix. Thank you for trusting me, because trust is first and foremost in any type of relationship.
That's right.
So
I had a good feeling about you from the site, so I'm glad it's working out that way. Thank you so much.
No problem, sir. And again, as soon as I get a couple of things together, I definitely want to send all my people a marketing list, or rather a referral list of other people they can reach out to. I'm just, because that's what you guys deserve, because I'm on a hunt too myself. I'm always all over the place. So the more that I run into that I know that could be a resource for other people, being that this is not a race. We're just all running. If it's a race, we're all running the same lane together. When one wins, we all win. And we're all going to win together.
Right. I got you.
And so you've been a blessing on my show. And again, I'm going to look at the calendar, see how everything is working out. And I'm definitely going to have Mr. Willson. I'm going to have to tease you now. I'm going Dennis the Menace on you, and you're now Mr. Willson.
Yeah. You got to say Mr. Willson with 2 L's, though. That's important to me.
Right. And see, that's what they should have did from Dennis the Menace to start, because he pronounced it with 2 L's. See, they wronged you from the start.
They pronounced it like he was a double L. You're right. They pronounced it like it was a double L, and they should have said
exactly. That. You have been wonderful. God bless you. You as well, and you're welcome to call this show anytime that I have a show, just to, show your support. Like I said, once people enter the Diamonds Mix realm, you are now family, and just feel comfortable and what have you. And I did not have to tell you, don't be comfortable, don't be uncomfortable about the interview, because you already knew what my energy was prior to, us even having a discussion. My last 2 or 3 guests, though, I heard in the first 10 seconds that they were nervous. And I just stopped. I said, wait, hold on. I said, look, I can tell that you're nervous, because it's the way that people speak when you know that they're nervous. So I'm like, just please think about me. I'm the elementary kid that you haven't seen in a long time. And then that's where you feel the ice break. And, at the end, they are just, and just had the most wonderful time and experience. And it just becomes just an amazing adventure. So I'm so glad we just got right into it. I'm just, you are amazing, sir. And once my finances definitely get back in order from business, I definitely want to support your book for sure. At least one of your books. I definitely want to make sure that I'm on the train of supporting, because that's the reality of things. That's what we have to do. We are functioning off of support. So that's what we got to do.
I appreciate that. And I'm just excited to be here, and God bless you, Lovey. And I look forward to we'll talk in the near future, right?
Oh yeah, well, much sooner than later. You always see me either on Facebook or I'm an email or a phone call away. So you have several ways to get in touch with me.
All right, my friend. Have a good night. This was fun. Thank you so much.
No problem, sir. This has been Diamonds Mix, and again, this has been the wonderful Mr. Wilson. Mr. David M. Wilson at that, and definitely open up our eyes and opening up our hearts. Go check out his book. Definitely go support people, because we are nothing without support. And I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. Thank you guys for the love. Thank you guys for the listenings. Thank you guys for the call-ins. Thank you guys for the comments. Definitely go check out, I made a brand new Diamonds Mix page on Facebook. Definitely go check out Diamonds Mix on Facebook. And I got a whole bunch of more stuff to load up. That's just really the beginning of things. I got videos to upload. Oh gosh, the list goes on and on, people. But the reality is, I do it for the people. And thank y'all for being just such a big support. Thank you to my sponsors, Blessed for Life Ministries, Miss Shannon Whitney, Minister D.A. Whitney. Definitely shout out to Elliot Howard of the Man Alive Project. Got to do a shout out to Moses J. King of Planet Marketing. I have to do a shout out to Miss Kimberly Snell, and definitely check out her book, 1 Minute to Amazing. And I also have to do a shout out to my dear friend from literally from elementary school, Miss Pamela Knott, and her boutique of Beauty Dungeon. This woman can definitely get you beautiful on a budget, ladies, and sometimes gentlemen, when she has gentleman stuff in stock. So go check out my people. Definitely it's all about love and appreciation here. So God bless you guys. I'm actually going to end this track. Y'all know I've been promoting my singles. So I'm going to go down the list here. Where is Winter Winds at? Because the reality is we all going through something. But I want to always let you know, whatever you're going through, we're going to turn it into a positive way. Pain can be turned into positivity. Your faith is just coming in as a test. So with that being said, God bless you guys. Everybody have a good night. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a interview coming up on, Monday was supposed to be Miss Sasha Robinson. I'm trying to get a confirmation on what's going on with that. If not, I will have a guest feature on Tuesday, January 9th. It will be actually a music guest. He goes by YBMS, and I'm actually pretty excited about that. He has some new music coming up.